So thank you for joining me. My name's Julie Lanford, and I am the cancer dietitian, and I am the community engagement director at Cancer Services Incorporated. I offer webinars every other month, and recordings are always available on my YouTube channel, which is YouTube at Cancer Dietitian. Also, resources like many of the links that I'll talk about from today are available on my website, and you can find all our webinars listed at cancerdietitian.com/webinars. So our topic today is dietary supplements and integrative medicine or integrative therapies. And mainly we're talking about evaluating effectiveness. So each person is, different. Everybody's medical background is different. So I can't give individualized advice. But what I'm going to talk about today is how you can sort of evaluate if somebody suggests something for you or you read something to make an informed decision around whether you should consider trying something, and how you could go about doing that. So that's kind of the key for our topic for today. This is just some information about me if you haven't attended any of my webinars before, or some people might be listening to this via podcast. If you haven't listened to my webinars before, I am a registered dietitian nutritionist, which means that I have a degree in nutrition, as well as done a supervised internship. And I have a master's in public health from UNC Chapel Hill. I also am a board certified specialist in oncology nutrition, which just means that oncology is my specialty, and I do have to practice in oncology regularly and take an exam every 5 years to maintain my current knowledge base, which is really fun, let me tell you, as an adult taking tests. But I did do my BS in biology at NC State, and I've done an executive certificate in nonprofit leadership at Duke University, and I do work for Cancer Services. We are a local nonprofit agency in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. My salary and everything related to my podcast, my website are all covered by the generosity of donors and grants that we get at Cancer Services. So it's very important to me that all of our programs, our cancer nutrition programs, are available to you. And other people facing cancer, caregivers, whatever, at no charge. So that's how we do it. And I feel very fortunate to be able to have this opportunity. So our topics for today is to discuss what are dietary supplements. We are going to talk about questions you should consider before you determine to take one, and then integrative medicine options. And I'm going to give you lots of resources because, like I said before, this is pretty individualized, and you will need to do a little bit of work on your own even before you go to your medical team and ask for their advice. Because dietary supplements are really essentially an unregulated industry. There's very little regulation, so you don't know what you're getting. Pharmaceuticals are regulated very strongly, so they cannot be offered to you until they've had proof of being effective. However, the dietary supplement and herbal industry basically has almost no regulation, so they can put anything on the shelf. So you don't know if it's contaminated, and there's also zero or pretty much zero proof of efficacy. So this is what I say. I quoted myself as an expert, but this is what I tell people is that dietary supplements are useful when you have a diagnosed nutrient deficiency, and your medical team will recommend them for a certain amount of time and monitor how they're working. So to me, that is the appropriate use of dietary supplements. Let's say your iron is low, your vitamin D is low. Maybe your potassium's low or your magnesium is low, or you're having a lot of side effects that's making you dehydrated or altering your electrolyte status, and your team wants you to take something for that. To me, that is the use of dietary supplements. It's when you cannot maintain a good, healthy level with food, and because of either something going on in your body that makes it near impossible for your body to digest and absorb those nutrients, or who knows why, maybe you just can't eat well. But your medical team will identify if you have a deficiency and will recommend a certain amount. I would be cautious about what brands you get, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you really should be taking it and monitoring whether it's working or not, and then constantly following up to see whether you need to keep taking it or not. I am not a fan of just going to the store and asking the, supplement salesperson what you could take for low energy, because you're going to get a whole slew of recommendations by people who don't necessarily have any medical training. And so it can be sort of, I think it's risky. So you really want to be cautious with that. Outside of myself, as of course your favorite expert, the American Institute for Cancer Research does have this recommendation. They have 10 recommendations on how to prevent cancer. One of those is that cancer survivors should follow the same recommendations that we give everybody else. And one of those is do not use supplements for cancer prevention. So in terms of whether it can help reduce your risk for cancer or reduce your risk of a recurrence or anything like that. Basically, the data, the science shows that it's not effective, and that you should aim to meet your nutritional needs through diet alone. They advise against the use of supplements as protection against specific cancers. So just because some nutrient was, linked to a particular cancer, if it's good for you, you want to get it from food form, not from supplement or pill form. In my opinion, nutrition supplements are like the most processed food you could find, because you're basically boiling down a component of a food into a high dose pill, which is not really how our bodies prefer to get their nutrition. Our bodies want nutrition as it's grown in the foods we eat. So that said, it's really hard to know everything about everything. And we're constantly doing science, scientific studies on different things. This is how we come up with new cancer medications and different types of treatments. And so, my blanket statement of, you don't need to take supplements unless you know you need to take supplements. Sometimes there's something going on that you feel like you've tried all the other things and nothing is working, and you're willing to just, give it a go with something that maybe isn't so well researched, but that might be able to help you because you're just in that place. So I want to give you some guidance around how to do that in a way that I think is, educated and a smart way to go about it. So here are the questions that I would suggest you consider before you start taking something. First of all, is this supplement or product or therapy supported by objective research suggesting a benefit? And that is hard to come by. Of course, whoever's selling it to you or suggesting it to you will probably tell you all the amazing things about what it's done for them or what they claim it's doing for people. But someone's story, while very interesting, and everybody, we all have a right to our own opinion and to share our stories. Just because something worked for somebody else does not mean that it will work for you. And just because it worked for somebody doesn't mean it would work for them again. So when we look at objective research, what we're looking at is large studies that are done on multiple different types of people and showing the same results, kind of if the study is ideally replicated or done multiple times, that you're seeing the same results every time. And that's when we can start saying, hey, this seems to be something that really works. If a study is done and then they replicate it and then the same findings aren't found, then we would say, yeah, there's not strong evidence that that actually works. There's probably something else that was going on. So this stuff is really hard to do. That's just the honest truth. And so it's easier for us to make some assumptions based on how we think things work. Put it in a pill, stick it on a shelf, make some claims, and sell the supplement, which is essentially what happens right now. So you as a consumer have to be more savvy than, just picking something up off the shelf that has a claim on it. So here's some reputable places that I would suggest looking at in order to investigate the efficacy of the product. So efficacy means, does it actually work? So first of all, Memorial Sloan Kettering has a database that's about herbs and botanicals. It's expert advice and information on supplements, integrative medicine, treatment, and more. That is something that I would bookmark. At some point, they had an app. Maybe they still do. I probably should have looked that up, but I would definitely have this as a page that you go to regularly if supplements and integrative medicine are things that you are interested in. They are really helpful in just boiling it down to, is there evidence that this works? Is there any chance it might be harmful? Is there evidence that it doesn't work? Is there any evidence at all? Which a lot of things don't have that. So I think it's a great place for the typical consumer. Now, this Nat Med Advisor is also, it's sort of a more intense version of what Memorial Sloan Kettering is offering on their website. It does have a subscription price. I think I saw the advisor was like $69 a year. But they also have this website that you can look up products. I think that you can even look up brand name products, which is even a little bit more handy. Memorial Sloan Kettering will tell you about the component, but they do not rank the maker if you're buying a brand name. So Nat Med Advisor, if you're somebody who wants to invest in that, it can be a great place for you to go. And I really think the most important thing that you can do is to check with your medical team to see what they know. So you don't want to, especially if you're in treatment or on a maintenance therapy or whatever, you don't want to mix these things, especially kind of unknown things, with your treatments. Because the treatments have been proven to work in certain situations and they don't always check how much they interact with other things. So you do want to be cautious with that. So it's really helpful for you to just have that conversation with your medical team. And it might even be that you can send them a message in your electronic chart that it doesn't mean you have to wait until your next appointment or whatever. But I would bring up what you're considering with them because they know exactly your particular type of cancer. They know exactly what your treatment regimen is and what kinds of things might, be helpful or not helpful. So, okay, so question number 1 is, does the product actually work? Question number 2 is there a chance this supplement could be harmful? Which is quite possible. And part of the reason that we see harm with supplements is because of the unregulated state of things in the US. So you don't know what you're getting in a product. They might tell you, oh, this is a calcium supplement with extra things in it, and maybe they don't spell out exactly what those natural ingredients are, or maybe it's just a bone builder, right? They like to put those labels on things, and you turn it around and there's like a whole big list of things. And you're thinking, all right, that's fine. But what can happen is that some products can get contaminated in the process of creating them, because this is not like the food supply. So the FDA regulates the food supply. They check on things, they go and look at farms. They certify different production facilities. When it comes to herbs and supplements that in the US come in a bottle, there's no one checking the production. So if there were to be some kind of contamination, you wouldn't find out until enough people have an adverse effect to the product that it gets reported to the government, and enough people have made them think, we need to look into this. So it is, again, risky to be taking these things that have no regulation. Which is why we would say you want to make that part of your decision-making factor, is just ask, is there a chance this supplement could be harmful? Well, I'm going to tell you there's a chance that any of them could be harmful because they could be contaminated, for one thing. If you get a quality brand that you feel like you can trust that they're less likely to be contaminated, that is helpful in this particular question. And we'll get to that in a minute. There are a few things that just generally there seem to be a lot of interactions with. So St. John's wort tends to interact with a lot of different therapies, cancer-related therapies. So generally, I would not be taking St. John's wort either during treatment or if you're on an ongoing therapy, or it does interact with other type of medications as well. So it's not just cancer medications. High dose antioxidants were actually shown to be harmful in terms of certain types of cancer. So they did a study on lung cancer. It was on smokers and their risk for lung cancer. And they found that people who took high dose antioxidants actually had a higher risk of lung cancer. So they stopped that study early and told everybody to stop taking them. Um, and that's because our bodies are not meant to have very high doses. So I would caution you against some of these products that they'll sell you kind of over the shelf at the grocery store that are supposed to help with a cold or prevent a cold, or that you take on the airplane, like airborne or whatever. They have very high doses of vitamin C, which is essentially an antioxidant. I do not have a problem with you taking vitamin C in moderate doses. I would say 500 milligrams or less per day. But some of those products are very high and you don't even realize it. You think, oh, vitamin C, that's nothing. But when it's like 2000% of your daily need of vitamin C, I don't think your body is designed to tolerate that, especially over a certain period of time. So there are reasons that you would need to be cautious with a supplement and asking if it could be harmful. Another person to ask is your pharmacist. Because if you get all of your medications at one pharmacy, then if you're considering a supplement, then, when you pick up your meds and they say, do you want to talk to the pharmacist? And almost all of us are like, no, thanks. Say yes. Yes, I would like to talk to the pharmacist. And they come out and you say, hey, I'm considering taking whatever, it's bone builder supplement, or I'm fatigued and I'm trying to get more energy. And someone told me ginseng would give me more energy. And then you ask them and it's very likely they'll know if there's something that interacts with your particular medication. So something like ginseng has been harmful depending on the dose. So that's the other thing that, of course, you want to check into when you're checking efficacy is, oh yeah, this stuff works, but if you take too much of it, it's not good for you. The other thing I would say, it's not necessarily a supplement or an herbal, but grapefruit juice is very common to interact with certain medications because of how it works in your intestines and how it sort of deactivates this digestive process that lowers or increases the dose of your medication. So some medications are metabolized somewhat in the intestines. And if you take them with grapefruit juice and grapefruit juice affects that metabolic system, then it can either make your dose too low or make your dose too high. So grapefruit juice is also a common thing that they will either say, don't take your medicine with grapefruit juice or don't drink grapefruit juice at all. Personally, I love grapefruit juice because I like a sour beverage. So if they say don't take with grapefruit juice and you love grapefruit juice, you can also ask them to specify, well, how much grapefruit juice would be harmful? Like, could you do a little mix of grapefruit and orange? Is it that you just shouldn't take it with the medication, or is it that you should never have it at all? Can you eat grapefruit versus drinking grapefruit juice? All of those little things. If it matters to you, I would ask the question. And the same thing, let's say you're somebody who has taken St. John's wort before, you feel like it's been a benefit to you, you're starting a new medication, they're saying don't take it. Have that conversation to find out, you know, if you were to take it, what are you looking for side effects? Or do they think, oh, it's probably fine if you don't take it at the same time, or they want you to just put a hold on it until you're kind of through your therapy. So these are conversations you should be having with your medical team. And they might not, some physicians are just better at having these conversations than others. They may, especially in cancer treatment, a lot of times we just say, please don't take anything while you're on active treatment. And then we can talk about it once we see how the treatment's going. We can then revisit this conversation because it can be, really upsetting to what the treatment is supposed to do. All right. Kind of covered this. Ask your doctor or pharmacist if there's any risk for harmful interactions, and ensure that you have a reputable brand by checking with a quality testing group. Okay, so this is also really important. If you are at the point where you're thinking, I'm going to try some kind of supplement or herbal, you want to make sure that it is, regulated, or at least somebody's checking on it. So these third-party quality testing groups, they will come in and review the manufacturing process, but the supplement or herbal company has to actually pay them to do this. So that's the reason they are not all of them do this. Why would they want to do that? The only reason they would do this is that they want to prove that their product is pure. And personally, if I'm going to take a product, I want to know it's not contaminated. So these different groups are places that you can look and see if the brand you're looking for or that you're looking at taking, is that brand been tested? And US Pharmacopoeia, NSF International, sometimes they have the stamp on the bottle. It'll say USP or NSF. So those are things you can look for if you're shopping for something in the, grocery store or the pharmacy, Costco, if you're taking something and you need a lot of it and you're at Costco or Sam's, they often have these labels on them. Now, just because the label is on it does not mean it's an effective product. The label essentially just means that the quality of the product is what they say it is on the label. So it doesn't mean that the product will work for what you want it to work for. It just means the product, it has in it what the bottle says is in it, and it is not likely to be contaminated with something that's harmful or not on the label. So that's the first thing. Then consumerlab.com, it is a subscription service, but it is a place that you can look up and see more information about particular brands to make sure that you're getting a brand that's not harmful. So I think those are really, really important. I tend to stick to, if I'm going to take something like vitamin D, or in the past I've taken iron or multivitamin or calcium or whatever, I do tend to stick to store brands. So I feel like Costco does a pretty good job with their quality control. So I would look for a Costco like Kirkland brand with one of these third-party seals on it. And that would make me feel comfortable having a vitamin D from them. I would not take a vitamin D from a brand that is like a home sale company situation. I probably would not take a mail order brand or something from the store that's something I've never heard of and doesn't have any third party labeling on it. To me, I think it's just, asking to not know what you're getting. All right, question number 3. So number 1 is it effective? Number 2 is it likely to harm me? Number 3, if I try this, what am I looking for it to do for me? And how can I measure if it's working? So let's say you're like, yeah, I'm going to try whatever, this bone builder that I've invented. Let's say you're looking at this bone builder because oh, well, the treatments kind of break down my bones and I want to make sure they're strong. And you've looked it up and it's got you think, well, it has some calcium and some other things, but it seems to be potentially could be helpful. And you look it up on some third-party site or you find one with a seal and it looks like it's not going to be harmful. Then you want to say, if I'm trying this supplement, what am I looking for it to do for me and how can I measure if it's working? So bone building is difficult to measure, but let's say you get your scans, your DEXA scans or your bone density exams, and you could take it from one exam to the other and see if it makes a difference. The other thing is if you're taking something, let's say for fatigue or for sleep, you should track those things. Or let's say gut health. You need to track, what is it that I am wanting this product to do for me? Is it that you wake up too much at night and you want to sleep through the night? Is it that you aren't able to go to sleep at night? Is it that you're hitting a wall and taking a nap every afternoon? Trying to measure what it is. Like, where's your energy level? Where's your sleep habits? How about your bowel habits? What is it that we're measuring, whether it works or not? And then you would take it and keep track of that for about 3 months is kind of, I think, a good time frame. You could anywhere from a month to 3 months would be a good trial. If it's not working, like it's not affecting your whatever it is you're looking for, sleep or energy level or bone density, then you would stop taking it. That's how these things work, right? So you need to have some kind of unit of measuring either fatigue, you can do a fatigue scale, or tracking your sleep. Sometimes our fancy, watches can track our sleep, or we just write down how long did it take us to fall asleep last night? Did we wake up in the middle of the night? So keeping a log, and ideally you would have that data before you start taking something or trying a new therapy so that you have a comparison. So if you're considering taking something for a problem, you should be tracking that problem right now so that you have a baseline. And then when you introduce this sort of intervention, then you're going to be able to see how it compares. I know that's hard because there's lots of other things that go on in our lives that can affect these same things. So, but you got to do something. All right, so what effect are we looking for? What's your plan for tracking how it's working, and when is a good time to reassess? And those are great questions to ask your doctor too. They might say, they might give you ideas of what would be helpful for them to know and for you to help evaluate this product. Number 4 is, are there other options for achieving the same benefit? So always looking to, okay, there's not a ton of great data using supplements or herbs. There's a lot of claims out there that may or may not be true. And so it feels a little bit like the Wild West. I will say anything with CBD right now is just completely wild. I mean, there's almost no regulation whatsoever on the product, so I'm very cautious. I don't think anybody should be taking a CBD product from any of those pop-up shops because there's no one regulating. You don't know what you're getting, how much THC is in it. And so I'm really cautious with that. The data is also still really, really, really early, or non-existent. But there's a lot of claims and sales about it. So that said, try to figure out what are some other options if this product potentially is harmful or has very little data, or data showing it doesn't work, or it probably doesn't work, or maybe it could work but a lot of times it doesn't. you know you got to figure out, is this really my best option, or is there something else that could give me the same benefit? So those are really good questions to ask, again, your medical team. I'm having fatigue. I'm thinking of taking an energy drink that has this in it. Is this something that you would recommend? Is there any reason that it interacts? Some of these like supplements or herbals are starting to be mixed into, let's say, gut health beverages or these energy beverages, that you do need to be cautious with. So really looking into that and then asking, is there something else I should be considering for this particular issue? And that's kind of where I find integrative medicine can help, fill that need. Integrative medicine is an approach to medical care that recognizes the benefit of combining conventional therapies like chemo, surgery, pharmaceuticals with complementary therapies that have been shown to be safe and effective. So the thing that I like about integrative medicine is that they tend to sort of filter out some of the stuff that has zero evidence or that has been proven to be harmful. And what they are going to typically recommend, if you're with a good integrative medicine advisor, are things that have at least some evidence of helping in some way or another. Now, there are also plenty of integrative medicine pop-up shop type things that will sell you anything. They're usually profit oriented. But in our local area, we have integrative medicine at both of our medical centers. And they tend to be I find them very easy to approach, level-headed. They can bill your insurance, and you just get a good consultation with somebody that knows well what they're doing. So as an example, if you're looking for an aid to help you sleep better, mindful meditation might be less invasive and more effective than taking an herbal sleep aid. So having that conversation with your medical team about what alternatives there are would be helpful. Things like fatigue, the research around fatigue is that exercise actually has the most benefit for cancer related fatigue. There's not, you could throw caffeine at it, but it doesn't really fix it. So sometimes it's just figuring out, okay, this is my problem. I'm considering this, but what other options might there be? So I was just going to highlight some of the recommended therapies that might be good alternatives to what people take supplements or herbals for. So, exercise therapies, things like yoga, tai chi, qigong, aerobic or strength training, dance, anything that helps with balance. And when you combine things like yoga and tai chi and qigong that work some on strength and balance, but also incorporate mindfulness or meditation into it, then you get that combination benefit. For mind, body, and spirit therapies, visualization, journaling, self hypnosis, prayer, spiritual meditation, spiritual counseling, art therapy, music therapy, emotional counseling, or what I call regular therapy, mindful meditation, support groups, acupuncture, aromatherapy. This is why, we have so many of these cancer support programs that offer these types of things, because we know that when we can help you cope with the stress and the challenges that cancer diagnosis and treatment can bring, it does help you to have better quality of life when you're incorporating these things. Some of the physical touch therapies can really help people to relax and kind of slow down and regulate their nervous system, which will help them sleep better and help their energy levels stay regulated. So, healing touch, Reiki, massage therapy, pet therapy. I have a dog, and now I also have 2 guinea pigs. And I mean, we kind of hold the guinea pigs, they are good pet therapy. So then in terms of diet and herbal therapies, a plant-based diet, which I have talked about many times, and you can go back to one of my previous webinars to hear about that, really is the key, I think, to your nutrition strategy. You can follow a vegetarian or a vegan diet if you want to. I don't think you have to, but if that's something that appeals to you, certainly vegetarians and vegans tend to eat more plants. So that is helpful. Ginger tea with honey for nausea has been, shown a little bit in studies to be helpful. And then if you are going to try an herbal therapy, I would recommend doing that under the guidance of a trusted registered herbalist or integrative medicine physician. Or if you are going to do any of these supplements, getting advice from, the integrative medicine team that knows about oncology, I think is just wise approach. All right, so this is your action plan. Like, this is kind of how I break it down in my head. I tend to be a flow chart type person. So your action plan is to categorize your supplement or the therapy you're considering into one of the 4 following categories. Okay, so there's 4 buckets basically you could choose from that you're going to put this therapy or supplement into. And I've color coded them for you like a stoplight. So, number 1, this therapy is supported by objective research suggesting a benefit. Okay, then that seems like a pretty good strategy. That is kind of green light. Let's go. Number 2, if it falls in this bucket, this therapy has not been studied, isn't likely to cause harm, but could provide a benefit. Okay, so you've ruled out that it's not going to be harmful, but we don't know if it's actually going to be helpful. And then number 3 and 4 are kind of here in the red zone. So they are number 3, this therapy has not been studied and could possibly cause harm. And number 4 is this therapy has been studied and was shown to cause harm or provides no benefit. And so once you evaluate with my 4 things and then figure out which bucket these will fall into, that will help with your, we could call it a decision-making rubric, if you want to get fancy. So here's my sort of take home is if the therapy falls into the first two categories and doesn't cause you to go into debt, okay? So that's I didn't put that on the list, but you need to calculate how much this is going to cost you and how that fits into your budget. I have had people tell me that they have to take all these supplements or if they have to buy all certain kind of fancy food and that they can't afford other things that they need. And I'm like, nah, that's a deal breaker. We don't go there if it's going to cause debt or cause you to not be able to have that quality of life. Um, if it falls into the third or fourth, meaning it could cause harm or there's proof that it doesn't work, or if it's really expensive, then I would just be like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to try a different strategy. So that tends to be how I approach it is that it's a little, I try to be very strategic about, okay, let's write down what we're looking for. Let's write down, is it effective? Are there studies on it? Go to the Memorial Sloan Kettering website and see what you find there. If it says it could be effective, then that's fine. If it says, then you want to check and see if it's harmful or not, or if it interacts with any of your current medications or your particular diagnosis, and make sure you're checking with your medical team about that. If it's okay, maybe could provide benefit, not harmful, then sure, it might be worth considering, assuming you can get a brand that you are comfortable with, that has been checked over and is quality controlled. Then I think it's a fair thing for you to do a trial, either a 1 month or a 3 month kind of trial where you track your symptoms and see how it's going. Otherwise, if you can't really find any information about it, you're wise to go on your medical team's advice. So that said, here are some places that you can go for reliable sources of information. American Institute for Cancer Research is one of my favorite websites specifically around diet and cancer. So that's one thing that you would want to look at. Memorial Sloan Kettering, I already mentioned the herbs and botanicals. The National Cancer Institute has an office of complementary and alternative medicine. So their website would be something worth looking into. The National Institutes of Health has an office of dietary supplements. So they also would be something that you can look for, especially to find out if there's been any reports of harmful interactions of what you are looking at taking. And then the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, as well as the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, they do have a dietary supplements category of their website. Now, again, they don't do the same type of review as they do around food and pharmaceuticals. But if there are complaints, so if somebody reports an adverse effect of a supplement, it does have to be reported to them. But they are not going out there inspecting supplement and herbal supplement production facilities. So these are some great ones. And I'll have a short link for you to go on my website, and I link each of these pages so you can always find them pretty easily. All right, so just as a reminder, these are your 4 buckets. This therapy or supplement supported by objective research suggesting a benefits are green light. The therapy has not been studied but isn't likely to cause harm, and maybe it could provide a benefit is sort of our orange light. Let's get a little bit more, advice on that. And then this therapy has not been studied and could possibly cause harm, or this therapy has been studied and was shown to cause harm or provides no benefit, are the red light, don't go there, buckets of things. All right, so that's pretty much all I had for today's information. You will be able to find the recording of this webinar on my podcast and also I will post it on the website today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow. And that will be, you can find it at cancerdietitian.com/supplements, or you will be able to find it on my YouTube channel. You can find my other webinars at cancerdietitian.com/webinars. And then, of course, on my podcast, all the webinars are recorded if you prefer to listen to me yammer on at you while you're doing something else. And I have my next webinar planned for November 14th at 3 p.m. We're going to talk about nutritious holiday foods, which should be really fun to get us ready for the holiday season. I'm wrapping up my Eat the Rainbow Summer Edition. I think next week is the last week. I can't quite remember, but then we'll kick off the Winter Edition in December. I think December 1st is our kickoff date. So we do have some things coming up. Make sure that you are on my email list so that you get notified whenever new things are scheduled and registration is open. If you do have any questions, you can always email me, reach out, and I'm happy to either try to answer the question or at least point you in the right direction. But that is all for today. So I appreciate everyone joining me. I don't see any particular questions in the chat or the Q&A. So I am going to let you go and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Take care.